It's good morning, Uganda. Welcome to this Newsreel this morning. It's the 9th of March 2023. My name is Philomena Masco, and as always, we do have engaging conversations. Today's a little bit different, but of course not away from the main goal to have information dispersed to you, our Good Morning Uganda family. And of course, we do that here every single morning. I do have a very special guest with me this morning in the house, and he's going to be sharing some important information and messages as well. You could ask any question, anything that you would love to understand about the topic we'll be discussing. Make use of our social media, and that is Twitter, #UBCGMU, and get onto our WhatsApp platform, 0709-602-592. My name is Philomena Masco, and what I am going to be talking about before I introduce to my guest is the Water and Environment Week Uganda 2023. If you have come across this somewhere, anywhere, well, today we'll be talking about it in detail. And in studio to help me with that discussion, of course, is Dr. Caliste Tindamugaya, that is the Commissioner, Water Resources Planning and Regulation. Doctor, thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Thank you for welcoming me. Happy to be here.
Well, indeed, and the doctor here is going to be giving us more intel on this Water and Environment Week. What is it? What are we going to be looking at throughout the course of this week? And what does it mean for us to celebrate or to have a week like this more focused on what exactly? All these questions, Dr. Caliste will be giving us the answers, and we'll get straight into it, Doctor. About the Water and the Environment Week, what is it exactly? Maybe you could give us an insight on what that is.
Thank you very much. The Uganda Water and Environment Week started in 2018 after realizing that we are not having opportunities to engage with the stakeholders. As the viewers we get to know later, water and environment resources are very important in our day-to-day lives, and we would want everybody to be part of their sustainable management and development. So we did realize that we are not having many opportunities to engage with the stakeholders so that they can take advantage of these resources, but also be able to protect them for the benefit of the present and future generations. So we started in 2018, and we celebrate a whole week of events where we have stakeholders from all walks of life, the communities, the students, the academia, the religious institutions, cultural institutions, government institutions, to talk about this resource that all of us depend on. Okay. And once we have talked about it, we discuss the challenges we are faced with, how we can take advantage of these resources, but what we need to do to make sure that they are available. So that's the whole purpose of the Uganda Water and Environment. We basically dialogue, share and exchange experiences and practices, and then draw a plan on how we are going to utilize these resources better for the present and future generation.
Okay, and you said it's a whole week. What are some of the activities you're looking at doing, executing in these days that are meant to be diverted to the Uganda Water and Environment Week 2023?
Thank you very much. So we actually call it the Uganda Water and Environment Week, but it's more than a week. We again would want everybody within the country to participate in the activities of the week. So we have activities which we call pre-event activities. These are activities which are carried out in the rest of the country. The Ministry of Water and Environment has 6 regional offices. We have an office in Karamoja in Moroto, we have an office in Lira, we have an office in Wakiso, we have an office in Fort Portal, in Mbarara and Mbale. So through our regional offices, we engage all the stakeholders in those regions as prevent activities. And those activities start about 2 weeks before the actual week.
Yes.
And these activities involve, for example, we are having football matches where we get the youth to compete, maybe with the elder people, institutions compete with each other, again as a way of getting people to know that we need to work together to address these challenges. We have cleanup exercises in various areas, show people the importance of living in a clean and healthy environment. We have restoration activities where we get people to restore the wetlands, plant trees. We also have activities where people demonstrate how these resources are being used to create wealth. So we have a number of activities. We also have runs. Actually, this year we'll be having a run for the Nile, where we would want people to appreciate the importance of Lake Victoria and the Nile, and they will be running for that. We also have a walk, very, very important. We have a walk for water, environment, and climate change. And this year, the walk is taking 320 kilometers. And it's taking 10 days.
380 kilometers.
320 kilometers walk.
Kilometers,
and people are walking on foot. This year we started in Kingfisher, around the oil wells in Kikube.
Okay.
And we started on 28th February, and we are going to end on the 10th, which is tomorrow.
Yes. And
they will be ending at the Ministry of Water and Environment. So the walk, we have professional walkers, but along the way, people join in the walk to be able to actually contribute. And during this work, we are raising awareness, we are mobilizing the stakeholders, we are actually getting people to appreciate the importance of this resource. Now, we have those activities which are called event activities.
Yes.
And that's the actual week. And for this year, those event activities are going to take place on the 12th, that is Sunday, 12th March. And we always want to do it on Sunday when many people are available at home. We start at 2 p.m. and end at 5 p.m. And we always telecast it live on TVs.
Yes.
We will be privileged to have UBC telecast the event live together with NBS. And here we'll be having a number of dignitaries attending, giving speeches, we'll be having dialogues. And the rest of the week we have trainings, we have field visits, we have dialogues, we have interactions. So a big event of activities running from Sunday 12th to Friday 17th March.
Okay. Now, we are talking about two aspects here, water and environment. And Doctor, I would really love it for you to explain to us the connection between these two, water and environment. How do they come to intertwine with each other?
Well, water and environment are real brothers and sisters. You could say two sides of the coin. When, for example, you need water, water is actually made available by the environment. Maybe it also mentioned that water is actually part of the environment, although it's probably a special part of the environment. When we need water, we need to have this water available when we need it and in good quality and quantity.
Yes.
And this water is actually maintained by, for example, the trees. The trees will always send water up in the atmosphere. It goes as vapor. Then when it reaches the atmosphere, it will condense and come down as rainfall. So we cannot have water available without having, for example, the trees. We cannot have water available without having the wetland. The wetlands store water. They clean the water and make this water available all year round.
Yes.
We also need to make sure that we protect the mountains, the hills, the riverbanks, because again, if we don't protect them, the water will be silted up and the quality will not be good. But water is also important for maintaining the environment. You cannot have a tree without water. So water will be needed to make a tree grow. That's why you see trees drying up in the dry season. We need water to maintain a wetland. There's no wetland that will exist without water. So water maintains the environment, environment maintains water. So again, you need both. And that's why we have this week called Water and Environment Week, because for us, water and environment cannot be separated.
Yes.
And that's why we have the Ministry of Water and Environment, because of recognition of the fact that these two are related and they cannot be separated.
All right. There are certain things you did say will be up for discussion, and probably just to bounce off one question. Looking at some of these resources that we have, how best do you think we can utilize them to be able to achieve, actually to create wealth, but also achieve a national sustainable socio-economic transformation?
Well, thank you very much. Again, for the benefit of the viewers, water is actually key in everything we do. We cannot survive without water. They say you can stay for a number of days without food, but you cannot stay those number of days without water. So water is key in our well-being. For example, you need water for bathing, you cannot go to work without bathing. You need water for drinking, you need water for cooking food, you need water for washing, for cleaning, everything. So sometimes we take water for granted. We don't know how important this water is. It's when it is not available that we actually appreciate how important it is.
Yes.
But water is also needed for, in Uganda, for example, most of our power is actually hydropower.
Yes.
And hydropower is about bringing water to tiny turbines. So if we don't have water, we cannot have power. We would actually be having road shedding, as we experienced in the past. Water is needed for agriculture. Again, you cannot have crops growing without water, either as rainfall, but also as water that you have moved from one location to another through, and you undertake irrigation. Water is key in industrial development. Again, if you look at beer, 96% of beer is water.
Yes.
95% of soda is actually water, colored water. So without water, you cannot talk about people enjoy beer, people enjoy soda. Again, the jobs created around there
Yes.
are many. So all industries will need water. All industries will actually use water as a primary input or secondary input. So water is as important as that. And of course, right now we are talking about even in navigation, you do navigation on water. So I can end there, but what I can say is that water is key in everything we do now. To make that water available all year round, to support our various activities, that's why we have to protect the environment, because the environment is the one that maintains the water. But these environment resources are also key in creating waste. For example, see how many people are depending on trees. Again, along with the value chain, people are cutting trees, people are getting timber, the construction industry, but also people are using timber, rather trees for firewood. So the trees are very important in creating wealth, creating jobs. The wetlands, many of the wetlands are sources of our products we depend on. Again, people are making bricks for construction, many other things. We make mats, we make baskets and all of that. So we are creating wealth around these resources, and if these resources are not available, then we cannot talk about sustainable socio-economic development.
Okay. And in your opinion, do you think that the Ugandan population has actually appreciated some of these opportunities?
Unfortunately, no. And that's why we are having this week, and that's why we are having a number of activities to raise awareness. People take these resources for granted. Again, if you see what we are doing to destroy the wetlands, to cut the trees all around, we are dumping waste everywhere. We are really polluting the water. We are destroying the environment. If you see how the hills are bare, and when it rains, the water will come very fast at high speed and will kill people. Again, that's why we're having a lot of flooding. We're having a lot of landslides. So people actually are taking many of these things for granted. Sometimes we talk about them when we have challenges. If there is a flood,
because yes, I was actually about to ask the challenges as well. Yes,
everybody will start saying, oh, we're having too much water and we're having floods. So again, too much water will come as floods. And this is destroying infrastructure. In Uganda, we need to note that we are spending a lot of money to repair the damage of the things actually we could have stopped. If you see how the roads are destroyed, we are spending a lot of money constructing roads.
Yes.
But within a very short time, a road is washed away by just a small rain event. And we could stop that by just doing simple things. Just planting trees around the road, getting the water to actually flow without any hindrance. Many people are building along river channels. We are destroying wetlands and everything. So again, Ugandans need to take note that we cannot move forward. We cannot talk about moving into middle income status without protecting these resources, which are key in our socio-economic development.
Okay. Well, we are talking about the Water and Environment Week 2023, Uganda Water and Environment Week 2023. And in studio, we do have Dr. Callist, and he's explaining to us some of the details. Water and environment, how are they connected? Why is it very important for us to have a week to talk about water and the environment? environment. What are the objectives of this 1 week? Actually, it's more than 1 week, but why do we have an event like this? What does this mean to us as Ugandans? And Dr. Kalist is a Commissioner, Water Resources, Planning and Regulation. Well, get into our social media and ask us what you would love to know about this event. Hashtag UBCGMU, that is on Twitter, and of course our WhatsApp number 0709-602-592. Now, Doctor, you said this started back in 2018. Would you talk about some of the the wins you have taken out, especially after holding events like this? What would you say these were the positive results that have come out of this week-long celebration or even event?
Okay, thank you very much. When we started in 2018, I must say that there was a lot of skepticism, and very few stakeholders came on board. They say, oh, what are these people talking about? And also, how can you sustain activities in a whole week? How can you have activities all over the country? So we started, and frankly, we also wondering whether
you had
we
your
would
own
make
questions,
it and,
yes.
And move forward. So, but when we started, we saw the response was very good, and many stakeholders came on board. Just to mention that this week is actually funded about 80% by stakeholders.
Yes.
The ministry puts in about 20% of the resources we use. So that tells you how important it is, the stakeholders out there. When we started initially, we had about 5 partners. A number of them were still watching. But as I speak now, we have over 60 partners that are funding the week. And every other day we get partners coming, but also they don't fund the week only, they fund activities that help us to implement the recommendations of the week. And some of the partners are within Uganda, others are outside the country.
Yes.
In terms of participation, we now have an international audience. We have many people who are contacting us on a regular basis wanting to be part of this event. So in terms of mobilization of stakeholders, we have really made a very big difference. Just to give you examples, right now we work very strongly with cultural institutions.
Yes.
The Buganda Kingdom is heavily involved. We have a memorandum of understanding with the Buganda Kingdom, which we signed about 2 years ago. And all activities of the Uganda Water and Environment Week involve the Buganda Kingdom. Right now in the walk, actually the Minister of Uganda Kingdom in charge of Burungi met the workers along the way in Busunju yesterday, and they are accompanying the workers up to the Ministry of Water and Environment. As they move, they mobilize stakeholders, and they also use their machinery to be able to reach out to the people. We are planting trees, we are restoring, we are cleaning, but we are raising awareness broadly. We have also the Toro Kingdom actively involved, the Rwenzururu, the Bunyoro Kingdom, the Busoga Kingdom, all the various cultural institutions are involved. We are also working with the churches under Uganda Joint Christian Council, all the 3 archbishops of the Anglican Church, the Catholic and Orthodox. For the last 2 years, they are issuing pastoral letters. And on Sunday, 12th, they will all be praying for the Water and Environment Week and mobilizing people. Again, bringing religious institutions to buy into it. They will be issuing messages on TV and,
Yes.
and radio, again calling upon the public to come on board and join. But we also have many private sector organizations, many civil society organizations, and many other institutions joining in. Now, in terms of the work on the ground, we are seeing a lot of work being done really to restore the environment. Tree planting is going on, wetland restoration is going on, water harvesting is going on all over the country. Again, the awareness that has been raised by the Water and Environment Week is key. And if one will talk about it again in terms of the partners that have come on board, again, it's a demonstration that we have made progress. But of course, we need to do more and ensure that we sustain the gains. Thank you.
Well, the poll question, how can water be used to create wealth and improve livelihoods of Ugandans? How can water be used to create wealth and improve livelihoods of Ugandans? This is up on our social media. Go on and let us know what you think about that. Well, Doctor, among some of the things I do believe and understand that will be up for discussion during this week is the linkage between climate resilience and economic economic growth in the emerging challenges in management and development of water. And there is one point actually that is specifically pointed out, the systematic review of links, policy options and knowledge gaps. Do you believe that we do have some of these gaps, especially when it comes to the policies and also knowledge, and where are these gaps, and probably what could be the ideal responses to these gaps?
Thank you very much. Yes, indeed. This year, the theme for the Uganda Water and Environment Week is on water and environment for climate resilient development. And just maybe to get the viewers to appreciate what does this mean. Right now, everybody should already have realized that the climate is changing. Things are changing. Our environment is getting hotter. These days, it is very hot. So there's no question that things are changing. But when it rains, these days it is raining very heavily within a short period. So we are having increased incidences of floods, increased incidences of landslides. But a few months down the road, then we have incidences of drought. So we are having the climate changing, too much water causing floods, too little water causing drought, and too dirty water causing pollution. So we are really having those challenges all occurring at the same time. Now, when we have developments, and for example, I use an example of a road. If you construct a road, you really want the road to do the job. You want people to use it for transport goods, and move faster. But when it rains, many of the roads are being washed away within a very short period. Now, if you are constructing a road and you are putting in billions, and then it is washed away just in a few seconds, is that development actually sustainable? Is it climate resilient? So we are saying, how do we get, for example, road construction to be climate resilient? And what do we need to do? Now, number one is, how do you design the road? When you are designing a road, you are considering a number of things, water being one of them. But in many situations, water is not considered, and that's where there is a gap in the knowledge, the gap in the data. You find somebody is designing a road and assumes everything is okay.
It's okay, yes.
Now, if you don't get people who are designing roads to work with people who are working on water, then you have a challenge. So that's why we are trying to create a link between people who are constructing roads and the people who are actually dealing with water. We have been discussing with the Ministry of Works and UNRWA to develop a program called Roads for Water and Water for Roads.
Yes.
How do we protect roads against the challenges of water? But how do we use roads also as water harvesting structures? Again, these are discussions that have not taken place in the past. But because of the challenges we are faced with, we feel we need to do more. That we protect the road from being washed away, and that's, once we do that, then we are being climate resilient. And we are trying to manage water and environment and ensure that the road is protected. And through that, we can harvest water around the road and ensure that it doesn't wash away the road. We can protect the road, maybe planting trees along the road, and ensure that the speed of the water is reduced. But the other thing also is, if, as I mentioned, we are depending on hydropower.
Yes.
Hydropower is, again, as I mentioned, is about getting water to turn turbines. So if the climate is changing and there is not enough water to run the turbines, then that development is not climate resilient. So again, we are working with the people in energy, Ministry of Energy, and the various agencies to be able to take action collaboratively to ensure that hydropower schemes are resilient to these changes. Here, for example, we are trying to get them to protect the area around the hydropower plants. We call them catchments, so that they store the water and reduce the speed of water. Again, schools. Many schools are being washed away.
Yes.
Some are in floodplains and they are washed away. Schools, hospitals, many infrastructure. Again, you find that you are moving forward 2 steps and taking 3 steps backward. So in this discussion, we are saying we need to work together to ensure that our investments, our infrastructure, our activities we put in place are done in such a way that they bear in mind the changes that are happening, and through that they will be resilient to climate change.
Okay. Well, Water and Environment Week 2023. Doctor, there is also where you talk about there is need for a better understanding of which tools work well for vulnerable populations, and recognizing that different tools might be needed to respond to different categories. What do you mean by that? Probably you could expound more on that.
Yes, thank you very much again. Right now, in the last few years, 2-3 years, in the news we have been hearing, Kasese is flooding, River Nyamamba is flooding,
Yes.
Eastern Uganda, Butareja is flooding, many places are flooding. Now, for us to be able to address those challenges, we need a number of things. Number one is we need data on how the water is flowing, how much water is coming in. You cannot manage what you don't know. So we need to know how the weather is changing. We need to know how the water is changing over time. And that's why we talk about reinvesting in data collection. Now, once we get the data on water, on the climate, on the environment, then we are able to generate information that is used for decision making. Now, such information is how far is the water going to go? How many people are going to be affected? And when is for example, the flood going to come? So we put in place tools called early warning systems, that if the water is coming, then people can be warned and they run away. For example, some of the tools, you have a bell.
Yes.
If the water is coming, we know that if the water reaches a certain level, then it is about flood. So a bell is rung and people run away.
Yes.
Another one could be messages on people's phones, messages on radio, TV. So again, those are tools we are putting in place to ensure that people are protected from these challenges. But those tools can happen when there is data, when there is information. Where there is capacity, you need the people, we need the tools, but also where there are institutions to do that.
Okay. And finally, maybe something else I would love for you to talk about when you talk about the balance between pre-disaster and post-disaster investment, which needs to be explained and examined more explicitly. Probably you could also throw more light on that.
Yes, thank you very much. Well, disasters will happen. Some of them you may not stop them. Some of them will catch us off guard, and that's why they happen everywhere. Even in the developed countries, they happen. But what we are talking about is, can I take some actions to make sure that even when these disasters happen, they don't cause serious damage? So these are pre-disaster activities that you can take. Number one is planning. If you know that areas are flood plains, the flood plains will always flood. Those are areas where the water will go when it rains. Now, if people are living in those areas, obviously when it floods, they will be killed. So if you plan properly and say, this is a disaster-prone area, we are not going to allow people to settle there, we are not going to set investments there, then you are actually doing pre-disaster activities. Again, if you are doing activities to prepare for the warning, again I talked about early warning, you are doing those activities that will help people to prepare for the disaster.
Okay.
But when a disaster happens, then obviously you have to take action. Number one is, that's why, for example, you get the office of the Prime Minister, Uganda Red Cross and others coming in. You are trying to save lives. You are trying to get people to survive at that moment. That's where you evacuate. That's where relief items are brought on board. That's where, for us from water, we are bringing water supplies maybe by trucks, by tanks, so that we can save lives. People are bringing in medicine and all of that. So, but there is a lot we can do before a disaster happens to ensure that actually we minimize the impact. So, and those are cheaper than what you do when a disaster happens.
Okay. Well, we are talking about this, but I would also love to know, what are the future plans you have as the people behind this Water Week? What are you looking at in the future?
One of the things which we really try to demonstrate and emphasize during the Uganda Water and Environment Week is partnership. That all of these things cannot be done by government alone. And that's why we are saying, can you come on board and join this effort?
Yes.
And that's why we are saying, civil society organizations come in, join the government, cultural institutions, academic institutions, the media. We are engaging the media very, very extensively in this week, the communities, the people. So our focus now moving forward is strengthen partnerships. We do believe that partnerships are very, very important. Partnerships help you to leverage resources and capacities. Somewhere where you don't have money, maybe somebody has the money. Where you don't have capacity to do something, somebody has the capacity. But also partnerships will avoid us to duplicate our efforts, create linkages, and ensure that we use the resources we have sustainably. So our future focus is on strengthening partnerships. And within the Ministry of Water and Environment now, we are signing a memorandum of understanding with various institutions. As again, I said, we have with cultural institutions. Right now, we are in negotiations with all the universities in Uganda that teach water and environment-related courses.
Yes.
We want to enter into collaboration with them so that their students can be engaged in our activities. We help them to learn so that by the time they finish, they come when they will have practical skills. But also want the lecturers and those who are doing research to research on issues related to water and environment so that they give us information and the knowledge that we can use to take action. So we are strengthening partnerships and collaboration as the future direction. And of course, we also want to make sure that we continuously demonstrate the value of these resources so that people can actually know that they are protecting a resource that they are depending on and that is giving them jobs, that is giving wealth. So we have programs right now on job creation. We have actually in Uganda now created what we call water and environment cooperatives. They are in the initial stages where we want to see how can people utilize water and environment resources to create jobs. So we are now getting people to create businesses around the water bodies so that they can do some irrigation, some activities that will help them to get incomes. People are now getting materials from wetlands and processing. They are using them to create some products that are selling. We have women, we have the youth, the communities who are being involved. So our future focus, we want to demonstrate the value of water and environment resources for wealth creation, job creation, and employment.
Well, I do have a couple of questions here, and Jumba Joseph is asking, what do you, please ask the doctor, what are some of the challenges that are being fully faced as they're trying to protect some of these natural resources? And also coming in from Georgina, asks, who do we expect to meet there? Who are the people or the partnerships and collaborators you're working hand in hand as the people behind the Uganda Water and Environment Week 2023?
Okay, thank you very much again for those questions. Yes, challenges. We really have a number of challenges, and these are the things we really want to discuss in an open manner, in a transparent manner. The mindset change of us Ugandans, the mindset of us Ugandans is really a very, very big problem. Many times we think about ourselves, we don't think about our country, we don't think about our neighbors. Whatever you do, you are thinking about yourself. You just want to enrich yourself and you don't care. But just to mention to the viewers that many of these things end up catching up with us. Wetlands are being degraded. On weekends, at night, you find the trucks are coming and they are pouring water. By the time you wake up, the whole wetland is covered. And yet there are people who are watching, and people keep quiet. They say, this is the work of government. Many times people will say, you know, NEMA is not doing its work, but can NEMA be in every location? Can the Ministry of Water and Environment be in every homestead? So I think the challenge you are faced with, the biggest one, is the mindset.
Yes.
We really need to invest in changing our mindset, so that we know that Uganda is ours and we have a responsibility as Uganda, but also hold each other really responsible. If you are moving around, people will just throw garbage. Somebody is in a vehicle, a very posh car, and is throwing just rubbish outside the window.
I mean, the other day, Ugandans were complaining about the new policy that was coming in from NEMA. You have to move the trash can in the car, and we were already crying about it. But at the end of the day...
and yet, it is not actually for NEMA, it is for us. The whole idea is really that how do we protect the environment? It is everybody's responsibility. If you do something, and I do something, and all of us do something, Uganda will be a better place to live in. Even in Kampala, for example, most of the flooding is occurring because of the rubbish, the garbage that we throw in the drainage channels.
Yes.
And the water is not moving. Then when it floods, all of us are in traffic jam, everybody's complaining, say what is happening, but we are not taking action. So that mindset really is something we need to work on as a country. And of course, the other thing which we have seen, which people always raise, and genuinely so, that people are poor. People are destroying the environment, people are cutting trees, going into wetlands because they are poor. Yes, but You are going to go in the wetland and the water will find you and kill you with all your investments. You have seen houses which have been flooded a few years ago. Within the last 2 years, we have had flooding, rising water levels, and many investments have been destroyed. But again, we have the programs that are trying to create waste. We need to use these programs to do activities that are environmentally friendly, and that's why all our programs in the Ministry of Water and Environment now have a livelihood improvement component. We also want to get people out of poverty by creating waste around these resources. The other thing, of course, the challenge of capacity and uncoordinated actions. I think we have a big challenge that we really don't work with each other. The left arm doesn't know what the right arm is doing.
Yes.
Institutions that are supposed to work together are not working together. We are duplicating efforts. And yet the policies are clear, the laws are clear, and of course also a bit of capacity which we need to build so that people can know what it needs to do to be done. In terms of the people who are going to be part of the Uganda Water and Environment Week, as I said, for us, water and environment touch everybody. We have school children that are going to be there, and we have mobilized the number of them that some have participated in the regional activities. Through debates, we have had youth debates. We are also having activities to challenge the students, find a solution. We call it hackathon. We have got 7 universities. They have come together, and for 2 days, the students have been thinking on how they can contribute solving problems. So they will be there. We have our donors, all our various donors, bilateral donors, multilateral donors, UN agencies. They will be there. We have civil society working in the space of water and environment will be there. Relevant government institutions will be there, and the whole spectrum of the Ministry of Water and Environment, where we have NEMA, we have National Water and Sewage Corporation, we have National Forest Authority, Uganda National Meteorological Authority, and the mainstream departments will all be there, the academia. So I must say that all the stakeholders that touch water, and everybody touches water, everybody uses water, will be there, and we hope that we shall have exciting discussions.
Well, as we are coming to the end of this, Doctor, do you have any final words for the viewers?
For the viewers, I would like to inform you that this Water and Environment Week is formally starting on Sunday, 12th March, and will be held at the Ministry of Water and Environment headquarters in Ruzira. We start at 2 p.m. and will be telecast live on 2 TVs, UBC and NBS. So those who will not be able to join us physically, I will call upon you to join us, switch on your TVs and follow the discussions. The guest of honor is going to be the Speaker of Parliament. We will grace the occasion, but also we will be having a number of dignitaries. We'll be having one of the archbishops will be there. We'll be having the United Nations Resident Coordinator. We'll be having the German ambassador speak, and many, many other dignitaries. But after opening on Sunday, we'll be having activities continuing in the whole week, and again at the Ministry of Water and Environment, and we'll be having live streaming where people can listen in. We'll be having Zoom links. So again, come participate in the discussions. The theme, water and environment for climate resilient development. We have a sub-theme on policy, legal and institutional framework for climate resilient development. We have a theme on capacity and partnerships. We have a theme on improving resilience of the people, ecosystems and infrastructure to climate change, and have a sub-theme on innovative financing mechanisms. So again, a lot of discussion, side events, trainings. Don't miss it. We'll also be having exhibitions taking place. And on Saturday, we'll be having a run in Jinja called the Nile Run. Again, join us in Jinja to run. On Friday 10th, which is tomorrow, we are going to be having a cleanup exercise in Ruzira. As we welcome people who have been working for 10 days. So they will pass via Parliament, meet the Speaker and the members of Parliament, and they will be met in Nakawa near Mubus, and we'll accompany them to the Ministry of Water and Environment around 2 p.m. So again, I want to call upon all of those who are nearby there to come and join the Uganda Water and Environment Week activities. And those who may not be able to join physically, come and join us through social media, through the Zoom, and any other opportunities available. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Doctor. That is Dr. Caliste Tindimugaya, Commissioner, Water Resources, Planning and Regulation, talking about the Uganda Water and Environment Week 2023 that will be officially starting on the 12th of March 2023. That will be a Sunday, going all the way to 17th of March 2023, and that should be a Friday. Well, we'll have to leave it at that. It's Good Morning Uganda. Of course, we still have a lot to talk about between me and you, but also looking through some of our dailies this morning. We do have the Daily Nation and the Citizen. The big stories, of course, Daily Nation is Raila's D-Day, and talking about how government has deployed more security officers to areas around the State House. Call it a face-off if you please. And pomp and color as Kenyans mark International Women's Day. Electricity prices jump 10% on costly fuel and a weak shilling. I didn't coerce Nyakango to approve 15 billion Kenyan shillings payments, says Yatani. You can get that story in the Daily Nation, and House set to probe River Yala bodies as well. Moving on to the Citizen, democracy is our common goal, Samia tells opposition. And this was President Samia Suluhu Hassan addressing a meeting of the women's wing of Chadema in Moshi, and says building a democratic nation is everybody's responsibility regardless of their political ideology. Call for diversity and inclusivity as rising woman hosts third forum. And still looking at the aviation, why future of African air cargo industry looks bright. All of that in the Citizen. Grab yourself a copy, and the Daily Nation as well, plus our own dailies, the New Vision and the Daily Monitor. We'll be back shortly after the break. Good morning.
Paying your bills the old way. Paying your bills with the My Airtel app. Bro, it's a lie. You have the power in your pocket. The power to instantly pay your bills hassle-free. Unlock that power with the My Airtel app. Visit the App Store or Google Play now.
It was an emphatic finish from Mutambo to bring Zambia level. That's an even better one.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by MTN Momo Advance. Momo Advance tops up your Momo to complete your transaction. Dial star 165 star 5 star 3 hash to apply. MTN Momo Advance is always available when you need it. The Tales of Kasozi, brought to you by Uganda Communications Commission.
Hello?
This is Kasozi. How can I help you?
Hey, Kasos, my brother. Long time. We last met when we were at campus. It's been a while, but you are the person I'm looking for.
Campus? Really?
Hey, you don't remember me?
Okay, so how can I help you?
I'm stuck in Gulu making millions and I need to urgently send money to my sick mother. But I can't find any mobile money agent near me. I've sent the money to your phone as you can see the message. It might take a few minutes to come through, but I urgently need you to send the money to my mother. Let me send you her number and you send it to her chap chap.
My friend, I'm afraid your mom is going to die.
What?
Because I don't know you, I never went to campus, and I'm also in Gulu. So can we meet at CPS, we talk about it?
Oli musiru.
Stay tuned for what Kasozi does next.
Refrain from unnecessary engagements with strangers over the phone. This message is powered by the Uganda Communications Commission.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way, because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, looking at the traffic updates this morning, what is happening on the roads? Well, yesterday we did see a couple of them very free because, well, it was a public holiday, but I don't think we can say the same story this morning. And looking at most of these areas, actually around Nakawa Division, traffic has already taken over. And looking at places surrounding Ntinda, Naguru, the same story I can say. For example, if we take it all the way from Chigowa, looking at this road around here, that is the Magambo Road, traffic has already taken over, and clearly seeing the maroons and reds and oranges are dominating over there. You need to be ready for this kind of traffic. And of course, continuing all the way to Chigobe Road, it's not any different. Already traffic has assembled over here, and quite intense traffic because the color transitions are quite very visible all the way from orange to maroon. So yes, there is that for you to consider. Looking at the areas around Ntinda is starting to have a traffic build-up. As I speak, the traffic hasn't yet started becoming quite heavy, but we can already see some signs that the traffic over there could be extending all the way to the other longer roads. Ntinda 2 road is very busy as I speak right now. The orange dots have already taken over and they have dominated. Katalima Road, on the other hand, is not any different as well. Traffic already assembling and taking over quite a very long stretch of this part of the road. And of course, as you're going, continuing to join in onto the road of Ginger here, that is Ginger Road, the traffic I can say is quite despicable, and the long stretches over there and very intense and heavy. I could say you'd be seeing a number of road users, yes, stuck without making any movement. We're looking at motorists motorists, we are looking at cyclists, and most probably looking at also pedestrians. Well, you need to brace yourself, and we do have the people also coming in from Nakawa from the other side as they're trying to join in onto the road to connect all the way to Lugogo, finding their entry point into the city center. So yes, for the biggest part of this road, you need to be ready for the exhausting traffic. And looking at cars also coming in from Newport Bay Road over here, trying to join in on the main road, that is the Kampala Ginger Road. Already we do have a traffic assembling here because of the number of motorists that are using that specific road. And still continuing all the way as you're headed towards a town, you will be facing a few traffic hiccups here and there, but for the most part, after traversing that area, you won't be expecting quite any traffic, clearly showing the green lines here that it's quite a free way for both people entering and exiting the city center. However, as you're getting closer to the roundabout here, we do have cars coming in from Wampel Avenue. No wonder you're seeing the traffic build up here as you're connecting to the roundabout. We also do have cars coming in from Old Port Bay Road over here, which also has its own traffic hiccups here and there. And we do have also cars that are joining in from the parts of Makindye using Access Road. We do have the traffic here starting to build up, joining onto the main road. And as you continue all the way trying to connect to Kampala Road, there is quite a stretch of a traffic build up, especially for the cars that are entering into the city center. So you need to brace yourself for that heavy traffic. And joining in onto Kampala Road, for the most part of it for now, as I speak, it's a bit free, and the green lines clearly showing you that the traffic over there shouldn't be a problem for you in this given minute or in the minutes to come. But I cannot assure you that the situation is going to remain standard. The traffic could start building up much later on as cars are trying to make sure that they move all the way from the outskirts of town getting into the city center. So yes, please make sure that you stay very careful and cautious on the road. And also, I do urge you, like every other day, to exercise quite a lot of patience. And also, just a word for the people who usually cross from roundabouts. I don't think that is okay. I don't think that should be a way for you to cross the roads. You can either use a zebra crossing or use a safer route to cross, but don't cross from a junction, don't cross from a roundabout, because those are very tricky areas and you could cause an accident. So please make sure that you use the right spaces for you if you want to cross from one point to another across a road. Well, that's it from the traffic updates this morning, but we are still celebrating women here on UBC, and obviously we'll go further to talk more about women achievements and how we can ensure that there is quite a lot of empowerment for them, but also looking for uniform opportunities or platforms for these women. And we'll continue also talking about some of the strides we have made here in the country. It's Good Morning Uganda, and yes, we are still here with you all the way.
As a female tank driver, I feel so proud to be at the peacekeeping mission. It's not easy. Some want to be like me, but they can't make it. So I feel so proud to be giving other people food. I've been in the front line. I was in Yuga Batonka, I was deployed in Balbanin. That was a lot based, but then that's where I worked for Yuga Batonka. I feel so proud to drive a tank. My message to the women out there is, let's engage ourselves in this. Let's join army. I'm proud to be a woman. I'm proud to be a peacekeeper. I'm proud to be a soldier. I'm proud to be a tank driver.
This isn't just a girl. She is the future. This is a teacher, a doctor, a community leader, our future president. She is the hope of our community. And as a community leader, I will talk to others about how we must protect her against child marriage and teenage pregnancy because it affects us all. We each have a role to play in empowering our teenage girls to protect them from pregnancy. Because when we empower them, we empower our nation. Protect the girl, save the nation.
Take action. Report any case of defilement or child marriage to the police or call Sawuti 116.
The Tales of Kasozi, brought to you by Uganda Communications Commission. This is Kasozi. How can I help you?
Hey, Kasozi, my brother. Long time. We last met when we were at campus. It's been a while, but you are the person I'm looking for.
Campus? Really?
Hey, you don't remember me?
Okay, so how can I help you?
I'm stuck in Gulu making millions, and I need to urgently send money to my sick mother. But I can't find any mobile money agent near me. I've sent the money to your phone, as you can see the message. It might take a few minutes to come through, but I urgently need you to send the money to my mother. Let me send you her number, and you send it to her chap chap.
My friend, I'm afraid your mom is going to die.
What?
Because I don't know you, I never went to campus, and I'm also in Gulu. So can we meet at CPS, we talk about it?
Stay tuned for what Kasozi does next.
Refrain from unnecessary engagement with strangers over the phone.
This weekend on UBC.
Located along Entebbe Road, is a modern city covering almost 2 square miles, which contributes a population of over 3,000 residents, businesses, and other facilities.
He took time off his busy schedule to talk to us about his dream, passion, and what keeps him motivated.
I believe so much in getting solutions society needs. When I imagine something and it comes, I feel I should implement it. And the way I've told you, I want to now start attacking the slums.
This isn't just a girl. She is the future. This is a teacher, a doctor, a community leader, our future president. She is the hope of our community. And as a community leader, I will talk to others about how we must protect her against child marriage and teenage pregnancy because it affects us all. We each have a role to play in empowering our teenage girls to protect them from pregnancy. Because when we empower them, we empower our nation. Protect the girl, save the nation.
Take action. Report any case of defilement or child marriage to the police or call Sawuti 116.
One-on-One with Michael Jordan Lukomwa.
A weekly face-to-face conversation focusing on accountability, inspiration, information, and sensitization of the public from the various sources such as inspirational profiles.
Having a disability is not inability.
Professional guidance.
There is no special antiretroviral therapy that is given specifically for discordant couples.
And of course, politics.
Don't you see anywhere that you would give a credit in the fight against COVID?
My role as the owner of the country is not to, be preoccupied by giving credit to my servant.
We have said that if we are to talk to General Museveni, there must be certain conditions in place.
Is it true that you paid 5 million shillings to MPs that voted for Anita Mong and Tayebo?
That is laughable. Why would we pay when we have nominated them as SEC?
The Conservative Party has been represented in Uganda's parliament for 10 years. We only
by one MP, you yourself.
And my daughter, Susan.
Every Friday 9 p.m. it's One-on-One with Michael Jordan Lukomwa on UBC TV, inspiring Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
It looked like a long-awaited moment for these women in uniform to showcase which stuff they are made of. Boosted with morale, the parade march past was mounted and commanded by women. President Yoweri Museveni, who had arrived earlier, also witnessed the capacity of these women as he inspected the well-aligned parade. But behind this capacity was a special message.
For us, starts with the core, which is education. Because without education, we cannot talk about access and affordability for internet, for example. Education for girl child starts from the primary level.
The message comes in the wake of the growing need for innovations for development. This fortunately goes with science, whose priority is being emphasized.
There is need to expand the coverage of the national backbone to bring on board all parts of the country and that benefit especially rural women, including institutions such as schools, community libraries, health centers, and local government offices to facilitate efficient service delivery.
It is this similar message that President Yoweri Museveni carried for the people of Uganda, emphasizing the need to put focus on teaching sciences.
When the families get out of poverty through commercial farming, through manufacturing, through services, through ICT, the 4 sectors, it is easier to address all the other marginalized groups, including the women.
This way, he says, will propel the country's quest for wealth creation across regions.
Your theme, women in science, Honorable Mongi connected it well. He said you cannot be a scientist unless you went through primary school and you went through secondary school and you went to university. But I want to go further back. You may not even go to the primary school if the home does not have income and food security.
Museveni is optimistic. Women can drive this agenda given their exemplary leadership from grassroots level.
Easier if the whole society comes up, gets out of non-money economy into money economy, then you will be able to get more scientists, both men and
other leaders agree with the president on this.
For me, the most important words are equal opportunities, whether it is in science, whether it is in technology. But what the NRM government under President Museveni did is to accord the woman of Uganda an equal opportunity so that it is not only men.
And we celebrate the achievements of women from where we are coming from, where we are and where we are going. You know, if we don't keep on celebrating the milestones that we have achieved as women, definitely we can go in slumber.
The leaders, mostly women who believe in science and innovation, agree with the theme of the day.
We are special creatures, and that's why the world wouldn't be complete without us women. And that's why we celebrate this day, and it's internationally recognized, and we thank our God for this day, we thank our God for his love.
International Women's Day has been observed under the theme, Equal Opportunities in Education, Science and Technology for Innovation, and a Gender Equal Future. Henry Okrut, UBC in Kiruhura District.
Well, thank you, Henry Okrut, and welcome back from Kiruhura District. It is Good Morning Uganda Agenda, and we began with a recap of what transpired yesterday as the world and now Uganda were celebrating International Women's Day. I'm Robert Chirabonyo with my colleague Felix Nkunda, the wise man, is with me this morning, with whom we are going to be discussing a number of issues regarding that is the women in this country. Now, Felix, yesterday we saw a very colorful ceremony manned by women, right from all the parades and everything. And I think it's becoming a culture that on this day, even when you tune into many radio stations, TV stations, I was monitoring around, many the women choose to step in and do everything to show that, yes, we can. Yes, we've come from afar. Even Good Morning Uganda yesterday was very interesting. The men, we weren't here, the women were doing that. And I must say it was a commendable job, and really women have done so much. But looking at the day's theme, yesterday's theme that was looking more at ICT, information technology, equal opportunities, equal education, while the Minister for Gender, Labour and Social Development, Honorable Betty Amongi, was speaking, she talked about education as being key if in the digital arena we are to see equal opportunities for women. His Excellency talks about the fact that some of these young girls may not even be able to go to P1 because the families are deeply rooted into that is extreme poverty. But we also know that Uganda, our dropout education levels are fairly high, if you are to say. When you look at how many children enter P1, how many complete P7, how many complete senior 4, how many complete senior 6, you may find that the numbers are alarming, yet majority of the dropouts are the girl child, would be women in the future. So let's begin by looking at this issue of retaining the girl child in school, because this is the only way that the girl child may have equal spaces, because opportunities come to those who are prepared, not so. Even if we just wake up and say we need the girl child, we give them affirmative action, we give them extra points at university, but they're not going to get there. We say maybe at district levels, we must have women members of parliament per district. but the qualification is senior 6 or later on even a degree, and you don't have these women. Still, their opportunities may be there, but you've not prepared them to suit in these opportunities.
All right. You know, I've been trying to listen to some of the speeches that were given yesterday by various leaders. Definitely also His Excellency came in to crown it all up. But when we're having these discussions, it's equally important for us to question one matter of fact. I had the Minister of Gender, excuse me, I had the Minister of Gender, sorry, I've been having a terrible cough lately, talk about various ladies in various positions. And I've had women pride about very many names of women in what they call places of importance. But relating to the question you asked in terms of education, you would also want to ask on top of that, when you tell me the ED of here, the ED of here, the what is a doctor, are they in those positions because they are women? Is the Speaker of Uganda in that position because she's a woman?
She's a lawyer.
Is she a lawyer? Anita Mong? Actually, she's not. But away from, and the qualification of being a speaker is not being a lawyer anyway.
No, what I'm trying to say is she is an educated woman. So
That's the thing.
she's fit for purpose.
Absolutely. Not because she's a
woman.
Because that person is not ring-fenced for women. She's there because she competed fairly and she won. When you come and tell me
the likes of Allen Kajina,
is she there because she's a woman? I think let's not lose the discussion, and that's where I disagree with some of the statements many people come to say on days like this. You see this position, we have the Prime Minister, we have the Speaker. Are they there?
Because these are not ring-fenced for women.
That's the point.
I think it's only the district woman member of parliament, then these other elective secretary for women affairs and all that.
Then that can't be an idea for us to celebrate. When you come to education, we must agree that we have a long way to go in terms of leveling the ground for these women. And why? Because our societies have been defined since then, just so you know, by cultural imbalance in terms of gender, academic imbalance in terms of gender, and naturally, some things or some factors work against women or the girl child, if I may put it. Now, the reason why you see people celebrate anything they see that is clothed in a lady garment in any position is because they actually acknowledge the existence of that imbalance, cultural, religious, and just many others. Our biggest discussion today should be on how do we eliminate these imbalances. Fearfully, people are afraid to have the concrete discussions in attacking or facing or having these challenges face to face, religiously, cultural, politically. The politics is doing its part because some of these people, many of them are political appointees. Is the culture doing its part?
And actually, it's good we recommend the political bit of it.
No, it's a matter of fact. It's evident. It's recipe.
Yeah.
It's written all over.
Cabinet, percentage of women there, go to resident district commission.
Are the other players doing the right thing?
That's
the politics has come in and for it has put aside. We talked about education. There's addition of points. Actually, Makerere for particular courses, they ring-fenced a particular percentage that is supposed to be in sciences. I just learned of that a couple of days ago. And so many, that is, the politics had been able, has influenced or lobbied. How about the other players? Are we strong enough to confront the culture and the religious?
Those two are very complicated.
How?
For example, there's always...
Is there the will before you talk about the complications? Do you think there's a will to have this deliberate discussion?
Maybe it requires mindset change. I'll give you an example. I've grown up very close to the Anglican Church, and not in bad faith, but there are some positions, it's of late, that I has begun adjusting. I had never seen a female reverend canon. It was recently that I saw one and I was like, wow, they should know about 3, 4. Like, okay, this is a step in the right direction.
Go to bishops, you're talking about canons.
Oh. Have you ever heard of
no, that's what I'm
bishop?
saying. But if you accept to ordain her as a reverend, why don't you want to ordain them as bishops?
A mindset change could be up.
That's the thing. Like, away from the politics has fairly done.
Yeah.
But there are other politics cannot assist the women, and this it's funny how they focus on very petty things on these days like this. They roast money. They brought us from the kitchen. That's so funny, lousy. The real problems are faced because when you talk about religion, look at some religious institutions are still married teenage girls, and it's acceptable.
Some believe women have a position that they shouldn't. There must be a red tape. You don't cross this particular. Otherwise, it will be kind of diluting the faith, diluting the religion.
That's the thing. What's the essence of us having this discussion? What's there to celebrate if we can't surpass those hindrances?
When we go to culture, there is one of the things His Excellency talked about, that was land fragmentation, when he said when the head of the family dies, this man has had his 10 acres, then every child begins saying, I must take my share, or mugabo gwange. Then the 10 acres are divided into about 20 small pieces. They're not so productive and all that. But very many cultural institutions today, when we talk about issues of inheritance, we still have the issue of tazadde mwana mulenzi, and becomes a problem. We still have the backwardness, continuity. You can't leave your property.
All these,
even some ceremonies cannot be performed by a woman.
That's the thing.
In
That's
some
what I'm
cultural
saying.
institutions.
You realize, and these things of dowry. You know, if we must be bold enough to confront, because in as much as you're going to see people sitting in, you yourself at the opening of this program, you said it, that there's now a big conflict between a successful woman and having a stable family. And that's the reality. But where do these things come from? Because success and gender, in particular women, have not been an appreciation we have lived well with. In fact, in some customs, women are not allowed to work. And there will be orders that tell you, no, Fawachara, and even religions. That's why I think Philomena was even asking, would you let your daughter, have you paid for your daughter tuition to sit at home? I think there are some stereotypes we must deal with. And they're hard confrontations for us to make as we celebrate days like this. But what is our role? And the role is not a generic approach. We must segment that in terms of politics, what have we done? Actually, on a spectrum of appreciation, the political arena has played much over 90% in elevating the stature of women vis-a-vis religious, culture, and many others. Because when you go to the political side, His Excellency is appointing women left, right, center.
Adding anything around.
And women have gained the confidence to come out. I've given you an example of the speaker. That is not a ring-fenced position for women. Because there was women who have come on direct. There was Honorable Kadaga.
It didn't automatically.
No, that's what it meant. But before him, there was Honorable Edward Sekandi.
Yes. The deputy speaker.
The vice president of the country. We used to have Dr. Speciosa Wandela Kaziba. I remember in our primary, it was the question. It's funny how we used to answer this question. The vice president of Uganda, Dr. Wandela.
Then we had Chiwanuka Sekandi. Now we have retired Jessica
Alupo. These are not ring-fenced positions. The Constitution doesn't say that for you to be vice president, you have to be. But I think it's in a bid. I'm trying to get in the mind of the appointing authority that it's in a bid to deliver on the promise of trying to raise the emancipation bar higher.
And even in politics, we've seen women take on direct seats, not the ring-fenced ones.
No,
men compete
honestly,
and they're defeated by
the
women.
Prime Minister's office is not a ring-fenced position,
Yes.
because I think she's even the first woman Prime Minister we have
yes.
had in Uganda.
Yeah.
Why am I saying all this? I'm trying to show that there's bigger need on the other side.
To do the same.
Let's go to churches, religion. How many, you hear men, when you go to the Pentecostals, I think I only know of only the pastor Imelda Namtevi. Very few.
That have broken all odds and
very
made
few
it through. Yes.
That run ministries.
Go to education. Actually, today we are talking about the education sector being vital. But I want to tell you, when you go to the education sector, where are the positions? You may find that there are many women in the education sector, but what key positions are they occupying? How many school head teachers do you know that are women vis-a-vis the men? You'll find that the women are in primary, they teach nursery, the dominate that, go to P1 up to P3. You find that many are female teachers. Now P3 to P7, the male dominance comes in. Secondary, senior 1, senior 2, senior 3, you may find a bit of female teachers. When you go to senior 4, the male dominate. HSC, oh, the male dominate.
And this is all not by mistake.
Sciences, we're talking about sciences. How many female science teachers?
Even away from just teaching, go into practice. How have we enabled the spaces for these women scientists to thrive? When you go to hospitals, how many times do you interact with female doctors in particular specialties? Those doctors that have made it, who are medics, how does the government support? You know?
No, Felix,
when you come to sciences, as the topic was in particular, what are the particular aspects and appeasements we have put in place to entice other young girls? Now, if you're still struggling with teenage mothers, you can't be discussing practicing sciences, because if these ones won't get their way to, or don't see the light to go to classes, it's what the president, I think, was touched a bit when he talked about, we must first of all empower the parents to make these girls be able to go to schools. And empowerment is not just about money. That's where we always miss it. It's not about, it's about mindset. And that's why I drove you to the discussion of this tripartite approach, the political, the religious, and the culture, because we must touch the minds of people to understand the use. Why should a girl study? Politics is doing greatly. The Honorable, if I'm not mistaken, Erika Ruhanga then, who was a member of parliament, moved a motion to have this day a public holiday in Uganda. A man, Dr. Erika Ruhanga. There was reason. Now, the politics has, and this one, normally politics has its challenges, but it has tried.
Now, that was said, Felix. Let's go to the gist, which is girl retention in school to complete the level. Because, rightly said, all that we are discussing today, the culture element, I agree, contributes so very much. The political, which has done its role, the religious does so much, where some will tell you, well, the woman is supposed to be home, be looked after. But let's look at issues like poverty. Government of Uganda adopted universal primary education, but we find that even where it is assumable, supposed to be free, and parents are supposed to contribute a meal, you find that many are not doing so, and some schools therefore come up with a certain fee. Now, if a family lacks what to eat home, where is the possibility that they are going to find money to give and contribute to a girl retention in school? So how do we handle this? First, the capacity to have this girl in school, the levels of poverty. Yes, we've seen reduction in poverty levels in Uganda, but still these are factors. Today, education is one of the most expensive venture. Of course, one will say cut a coat according to your piece of cloth you have, but generally, you go even in the villages where they will tell you in a universal primary school that maybe someone has to part with 60,000 a term. Now, we have populations in certain parts of this country where you'll find a man not having one woman or two, a man who still has maybe 12 children, 13 children. if maybe a number of these are girls, then how much must this poor man part with? So how do we handle that issue?
Now, in as much as you would want us to look at it that way, Robert, we must agree that the biggest composure for us, and I think the focus being on sciences, for us will be very minute if we want to narrow this discussion on sciences. Because I'll tell you, out of the many people you want to celebrate today, or you celebrate today as women achievers, you may find just 10% of them are scientists. Science is just a small part of our discussion. Education per se is a right in this country.
Constitutionally.
Now, its availability and accessibility must be warranted. That's a matter of fact. Now, regardless of the challenges that come with education in this country, it doesn't demise the existence of it being a right. Having noted that, you also want to agree that conclusively this challenge cannot be generally tackled by government because of its inability to service education to the latter. That's a general appreciation. The other question then would be, what can we do in this situation? With all the examples you've given, money, what, you see, what can we do in this situation if you want to have a discussion about elevating the girl child? What do we do? Because once you say you want to make major focus on the girl child, who's attending to the boy child? That's a question that also has come in very much about this discussion.
And previously there's an assumption that the girl child is very vulnerable. She's way steps back compared to the boy child. So let's begin concentration on the girl child first, because the boy child, you mentioned one of the factors that I agree with you, that some are natural, some are biological factors that were hindering the success of the girl child. That's why we saw so much attention towards the girl child. And even when you mentioned some of the issues, that there is this assumption the boy child will have to hustle for a family, the girl child, well, may find things on a silver platter, assumably, which is wrong anyway. So,
no, but Robert also,
and one will tell you that much as the boy child, I know many people that have young men that have hustled their education through. Someone will tell you, I used to lay bricks, I used to do this, which a girl child, due to have vulnerability, may not be able to do that.
And that's the perception we need to fight. There is nothing under the sun that man can do that no other man can't do. That's the brain thing we have been talking about. When you talk about any work and tell me why a woman can't do it, I think that's very deceptive when even you hide ability under vulnerability. We are just trying to curtail ability when you start talking about vulnerable. No. People, they talk about breasts. What? No. What you mean to say women are, okay, if you are going to make bricks, are bricks made by breasts or hands? Are there women who
There's
are
a general assumption, Felix, that the male flock is a bit muscular, more strong.
Are you sure all men are muscular?
I mean...
Are you sure? All men are muscular?
Well, that I can't.
Are you sure all men are strong?
Majority, there's that assumption.
No. That's
but of course, time has proven this. Yes.
And this is what we have to break. The stereotype we have to break. In Europe, women are driving buses. I have boarded many buses being driven by women. Trains. Most recent, most of the pilots, when you go, if you've flown through Etihad, Dubai, women. Many a times have been flown by women pilots. Because people talk about breast, but she carry it with her breast or what? This is what we are trying to say on days like this. Break out of these shells, these very cocoon, lousy shells. A woman can't be this, a woman can't be this. Once when you ride it, what happens to you? Your womanhood will be blown away by wind. And this is the argument we are saying. This is what even this we're trying to say in science is, what's wrong with having a PhD doctor who's a senior consultant in terms of maybe pharmacology or whatever. There's nothing wrong. It's what we are saying on days like this.
Every time we have AU results, you'll find that one of the things that comes out is in sciences, male have outcompeted the women.
But why? Because of that stigma. You can't be this.
You go to a science school on average in Uganda,
and
you find science dominated by the male flock. You find very few ladies doing science.
And you see, that's why in as much as you left that back, but all these things are because of what we see generally. When we go to churches, what do we hear?
Yes.
When we go to culture, what are the cultural leaders and institutions saying? Even if a girl wanted to apply for maybe to do to be a medical doctor, because there's the wrong message said in churches, the wrong message said in culture, in families, let me just go for. Where are we? Why are we not pushing? Why are we not speaking the same energies? Now, after your culture tells someone, omukazi wanotasika, wherever they marry her is where she. Now, she's fighting for what? That's really demoralizing. Because you've told her she can never head a family. Like, these things we must break.
She must be submissive.
Being submissive, I think also. No, there's nothing wrong with being submissive, and that's now the problem we have. That when you step on the table to face a challenge, you don't lose your point, your level of being a woman.
So Felix, that rightly said. How do we package this? Because by and large, I've seen a conflict between equality and equity.
No, that's been fostered by mediocre discussions. And those are discussions that have been pushed by seeming quite Machiavelli brains backward. We have been talking about the aspect of equity because once you make this discussion look like we are competing,
that's where we lose it.
That's where everything will
It's all about availing equal opportunities.
No, let everyone get what they need to assist them become or bring out the best in them. That's been the argument. You don't have to fight a woman because you can't be a woman as a man, and you don't need to be a woman. Okay? And she doesn't need to be a man. When Honorable Anita Mongi is sitting in the House as a speaker, the deputy is Tayewa. What is wrong with that? She doesn't have to get a thin skin of being a man to drive the parliament. She just needs to be the best of a woman she is. And that speaks to all the girls out there. This useless competition, and sometimes like that, I find it very useless and mediocre and myopic when you bring out results and say girls performed like this, boys. That's not you are not talking about who's the better performer. The news come out and say, were they competing? Was this a boy and women competition? These were exams sat. This was not a gender competition. So it is useless for you to give us those statistics. You can simply say the best person was Shirabo Nyonyintono. Now, the reader will go further to, if you're interested to understand whether Nyonyintono is a boy or girl. So when you say the boys are beating them, in what? Were they competing? Now, that's where we get the complex. You get the point. Unless it is used for statistics to help, but then that should be secretive. Boys are doing better than women in English. So, who feeds on English in this country?
If there are very few.
I don't know if now, those are the things we must address. When you come to society and we're having challenges, you talk about broken families, because that's now a big problem. You want to find out why are women today raising children alone? That's a gender problem. Who's discussing it? That's a gender problem. Because what happens when a woman raises a child alone?
Well, even in our previous societies, in case of any uncertainty, they had to come with a male figure within there.
As we celebrate these days, Robert, talking about science, it's good. Really, it's good. But the crust of the problem is still deeper than our thought. And the most painful thing, the clip they played when the program was starting, I saw the speaker, ministers, all of them happy, what. And in the discussion, all through, there are many things we didn't talk about. Last week, and these are the things that we say and people think we don't like government. Just last week, you saw the women who sweep the roads in Kampala. Did you see what was happening?
They have spent time without their pay.
We have people who sweep the road as old as 70 years. And on the day you're talking about celebrating women, no one makes mention about that. They're not on their salaries from January. And you don't want to talk about that.
And maybe many of these are single parents who have to educate the girl child as well.
But you're there. And this is, I'm sorry, sometimes these things we feel they get so personal. And we have nothing against these women members of parliament and ministers in these big positions. But you cannot be the only example for us to discuss.
Now, Felix, this brings me to ask you again. We've said religiously, the religious sector still has so much to do, and the culture and the cultural side of it. But let's look at this political emancipation. Have these women in these positions contributed much away from being role models, that a young girl in school somewhere can look at a speaker of parliament and say, if she was able to make it,
Do you know how she made it?
Maybe. It is encouraging.
Those are very bogus assertions. I find them very lousy.
Because these are some of the attributes that they say, that when you have women in these big positions, they're a motivator to the young girls.
To who?
That because a woman, maybe from the same constituency, if they can, if she has been able to, against all odds, make it, then I can also do that.
Will be speaker. I find that very lousy.
No, in a number of positions,
in terms of politics.
In terms of politics, but the question was, away from that thinking and belief, and have these women used these positions to lift the girl child?
What have they done?
Or has it been, when we look at district women members
Let me ask it better. What have they done? Do we have a forum for women leaders in this country that you say it has annual calendar? What is annual program? A forum for women leaders. Do we have it?
I'm trying to scratch my mind. I know female members of parliament, they have their...
Well, listen, these positions we are proud about. Speaker, Prime Minister, what? ED, Aismani MD, ED, Chief what?
CEOs.
Do we have a forum? And if it's there, do we know, as because we are in the media, what is its annual calendar, what are the activities? If girls in this country abscond from school because of a pad, we are still struggling with buying sanitary pads for girls in schools, for them to stay in schools. Then we shouldn't be proud about women leaders. That vote has been abused, and I didn't want to go there. It is you who has taken me there. I was trying to avoid going into that because I know where it will end. That vote has been fully abused. Because if it was affirmative action, that this position be put in place to help us enroll an elevation of these women, it should have the greatest effect in changing lives, because it was set aside. No one is going to ask you questions, but they're going to ask you questions relating to That docket. Like I asked you earlier, that position is ring-fenced only for, you can't have Chirabo Nyonyi Ntono as a women member of parliament of Kampala. So that was cut out already. It makes it, or your constituency is known.
And that is even right from grassroots chairman.
But look at the member of parliament Kampala. You want me to this
Shamimu Malende.
The only times I see her, as a lawyer to Segiri or whoever, your clients, and I respect that.
That's a profession, yes.
Profession. Unfortunately, she has been sick. She said a couple of months away. Now, the constituency of Kampala, these young girls who don't have sanitary pads, these poor women who have not been paid by government, which is celebrating days of women. I don't even know if these are funny things about that also shame us. You're celebrating.
And this representation is not only for members one.
Member
it begins from LC1.
I don't say members of parliament.
Ring fencing.
The women of parliament of Kampala. Your constituent, people who work in your constituents have not been paid. What have you done? Poor woman is struggling with her health also. She has to represent clients who got. You see, and actually the worst thing for us is to think that we have hope in politics. You can't have hope in politicians.
Because politicians come up with the policies. If they're implemented, they come out with advocacy. They have the voice.
Did you hear what the speaker of last time I saw you here, Thomas Philomena, you stayed with Kasiate here, trying to sweeten things. They are stealing rights. Now, why wouldn't people steal rights if you're not paying them salary? You're leaving us in a position to support the thieves because you're equally also an unfair employer. Do you mean to tell me the ED is not paid, is also demanding money from?
No, these had issues regarding contracts and all that. They have delayed, they are working on them and all that.
Let me tell you, Robert, in life,
but not to dilute.
You are a father. God has blessed you. You're also a father of women, of girls. In life, never start to think that your problems are bigger than any other person's problems. You'll be surprised that where yours stop,
others begin.
These people are earning about 100,000, 150,000,
130,
150,000. It means this person is staying in a house of about 40,000. And you know that they have children. Some of them even have more children than these big people have. You can't bring this nonsense of contract issues. Leadership is about being in the front, not being at the tail of situations. So as you celebrate days like Women's Day, let's have the actual discussions
on matters affecting
women. Go to markets. We still, you saw the issues in this market, I think. Yes, you know the issues there, still going on. Talk about the women, enterprising women. How open is the space for the women who are innovators? How open is the space?
Government keeps coming up with different packages.
And health care.
Different packages.
Just a moment. Okay. How accessible is health care to women?
Yeah.
How many women still die in a country like Uganda? We have stretched even boundaries. Now we are fighting in Congo, but we are losing our own in hospitals.
Much as you must say, there have been some slight improvements.
I'm not challenging that. I know that as a matter of fact. But statistically, we still lose women. Giving birth, a woman gets pregnant for 9 months, healthy, tiny in a complication, but they die because a doctor wants a bribe of 20,000.
Oh, my friend, recently I was at some hospital, national hospital, and if you go there between 6 and 5, from 5 to about 7 before the cleaners come, and you go to the labor ward, it is something very.
It's like a mortuary already. But these things we say, people don't want to confront them. Now, and on days like this, these are not days for us to put on nice, I saw women dressed in nice garments.
Because what actually they're saying is they're looking at
such a short day.
Where they were, how far they have come to define where they should be. Their journey now, because they look at the women. They were celebrating their successes.
How many women?
And now saying, we've achieved this.
How many
There's
women?
still room.
You people, you're being deceived when you see the Honorable Anita Mbongi, the Nabanja, the Honorable Nabanja, the Ministry of Labor, what is more. When you see, don't be deceived, those are representing women in this country. And we are proud of them, just so you know. But there's a bigger number. Me, my focus, those ones are okay. What are you going to do for Honorable Nabanja?
Nothing at all.
What are you going to do for the Speaker? But there's something we can say on this TV to help this woman who has not been paid, who has been sweeping roads, waking up at 4 a.m. How many government officers wake up at 4? Apart from you, in Good Morning Uganda, and I don't even, some of us are not even government officers. But how many of you people in government wake up at 4? Someone sweeps the road and you don't pay. Those are the people who want to discuss on days like this. Because they're a bigger number. The vendors, the women who are demonstrating, they're saying our husbands are in prison. Now, whether it's right or wrong, whether it's political or not, how about we look into it? Domestic violence. Robert, the level of domestic sexual abuse in institutions of government, not even going to private sector. You find secretaries are pregnant, you find these bosses have kids in every department, or procurement, or even the kids are named after departments. Sexual harassment. On days like this, let's discuss it. You're going to protect these girls and make them good scientists. But if the president talked about a couple of days ago.
Yeah, in the district service commissions.
Let's be honest. You people who are there, how many boys have been abused at Makerere, at Nkuma, and then university? Let's talk about universities generally. How many boy cases do you get of sexual abuse? Have you heard of any?
I've not actually, but the women's, it's the order of the day.
You tell me that who would want to disturb Chidabo to give you marks? Which woman lecturer? But out of 100 girls in universities, you find that 50% of them face sexual harassment, either by colleagues, students, or even staff. Why don't we discuss this? So even if you prepare a good foundation of sciences, these circumstantial hindrances are not dealt with, you may be wasting time. You're going to have a traumatized doctor. She may be a good doctor at work, but how is the husband treating him? How do we handle these domestic violence cases? And she may carry the frustration
from home to work, and therefore performance may not come out.
You've been hearing of this making rounds. There's an audio about Dr. Igime, something like that. But this has been a matter for more than years. The woman has been trying to talk to almost everyone. Police, how does police handle? I saw police officers in very nice outfits, seated, I think they were invited as officials, and they were women. But how does police handle women issues expeditiously? I think there's a lot that needs to be done. Away from the pretense we carry on days like this. We pretend and we are deceptive to lie even the leaders that everything is fine about women. It's not.
Well,
how easy is it for a woman to get a job in government without being asked for sex? These stories, you know, you are an investigative journalist, Robert. Those are the actual. Let's not pretend and put on good garments and dresses, and we see these poor women marching, son, chak. Hey, so, but the next morning, there's another victim of domestic violence.
In the interest of time, Felix, I'm sure we can take hours and hours discussing how best we can improve the welfare of these women and bring meaning to them on such a day like what was celebrated yesterday, the International Women's Day. But I'll just give you a minute. Of course, we need to create hope as we leave this set.
Well,
there's so much that has been achieved. There's so much that we still have to achieve. But a message of hope or what we can do to better this.
I think going forward, we need to reflect on how far we have come. There's been tremendous growth. But we also have to acknowledge that we, the makers of the success, have failed to maintain the success. Institutionally, let's not be shy about this. Institutionally, we need to rehabilitate our vow towards emancipating the girl child. And this can only be done when we make some hard decisions, politically, socially, religiously, and later on culturally. And I think it's something we can do because we have come from a worse place. I believe we have to all agree that it's our general duty to assist a girl child.
Well, thank you, Felix. And of course, what we can say is there's so much that has been achieved, but let's ensure that every day we seek for better environment for the women. Let's give them the opportunities that they deserve to bring the best out of them. It's not about being equal, but it's about each of us, without segregating gender, creating that leveled ground for all of us to shine and bring out our best. We still look at our politicians to have more policies, and of course the implementing arm also to do the same, because we believe the women in this country have a lot of potential that has been untapped because of the various gaps that hinder them to achieve the best out of them. I'll return in the next hour. For now, see you.
One-on-one with Michael Jordan Lukomwa.
A weekly face-to-face conversation focusing on accountability, inspiration, information, and sensitization of the public from the various sources, such as inspirational profiles.
Having disability is not inability.
Professional guidance.
There's no special antiretroviral